Hey, what is going on YouTube? This is Jim back with another video, and today I'm going to talk to you guys about the state of the Sony PlayStation 5 1 month later. Lots of questions on, has Sony delivered a truly next generation console? I just went through my particular issues. I counted 7 things that Sony really dropped the ball on, and I want to talk about those today. But before I get into that, I wanted to say I will have a headphone video for you guys later this week. I will be reviewing the Arctis 7P for the PlayStation 5. Finally got one after everybody mentioning I really need to get it. And I will be doing a nice deep dive video, guys, for you later in the week. So stay tuned to that. Now, let's talk about the PlayStation 5. It was actually a month ago, probably 2 days now by the time this video actually uploads. November 12th would have been about a month ago, month and 2 days, since the PlayStation 5 launched. And I think a lot of us, myself included, were really surprised with some of the problems we were having. Particularly with just things that honestly shouldn't have been as bad as they were. I think Sony definitely didn't rush this console. Clearly, it took them a long time to put it together. And they made a very different design approach than Xbox did. Xbox decided to basically keep a lot of their main operating system architecture intact. So if you already owned an Xbox One or Xbox One S or X, the OS didn't change a whole lot moving into the Series S or X. Now you did get the quick resume feature and some other things like that, but largely it was the same. PlayStation did a little bit different. They decided to basically revamp the entire OS from the ground up. And I think a lot of us, myself included, not a big fan of the new OS, honestly. I preferred PlayStation's 4's user interface and their file structure and everything significantly more. There's actually some features that were removed that still have yet to be added back into PlayStation 5. Things like the quick tab down the left-hand side where you can quickly turn on and off controllers, go into rest mode, turn on Spotify. Those features are gone. It seems like the card system has kind of taken over. And I'm not a big fan of it. I don't think a lot of people are really using cards a lot. I talked about this in a previous video. I thought it was something that was dumb. And I have to say now, having it for a month, I can still confirm I think it's dumb. I am not a big fan of it. And I would honestly be very surprised if in about a month from now, or maybe in a month, by the next major update, if they don't decide to kind of revamp it, because I don't know a lot of people using it. Maybe there are, and I'm just on the minority, but my friends who have the console and me personally, just not using it. And the problem is the OS really feeds you through this card system. And I wonder if that was kind of the crux of some of their problems, because it seemed like every time you hit the PlayStation button, whether it was a short press or a long press, it constantly wants to funnel you through the card system, and it's just an extra layer to get to the stuff you really want to get to. So with that, I thought it'd be interesting to go through and list out some of the problems I had and to address whether or not Sony actually fixed them. And believe it or not, there are still some things that are broken. So first and foremost, I think one of the ones that I had, and I didn't really totally understand the problem at the time, honestly, but I do now, especially seeing that it has actually been patched, was that the front USB-A port, not the C one, so the big rectangle port, was not providing enough power. And I noticed this because a lot of people were complaining that their DualSense controllers were not charging properly. Now, I was actually using that front port to charge my controller, and I noticed my battery life on my DualSense was incredibly low. And come to find out, it's actually not the DualSense, it was that port. For whatever reason, when Sony put this console together, that front port was not providing enough power, and it has since been patched. So that's actually something that works now accurately. I did test it today. I was able to get a full charge of my DualSense in under 2 hours with the front USB connection, and I drained my battery completely dead. The controller would not even turn on anymore. 2 full hours, got everything up and running. It worked perfectly, no issues. So that's a good fix, and I'm glad Sony has finally, fixed one of the things that honestly, I don't know how that got through quality control without being noticed, but whatever. And you're going to notice that's a trend, by the way. Second one, Miles Morales was having issues reaching 4K 60 with ray tracing. This was something I noticed when I first started playing. The ray tracing toggle on or off is really what was the gateway between the 30 frame per second quality mode and the 60 frame per second performance mode. And that has been patched. So yet another good thing by Sony. Another one kind of related, issue 3, back to Miles Morales. And I know this doesn't really sound like, I want to caveat this by saying, look, I understand that the Miles Morales issue isn't necessarily a knock against the actual PlayStation 5 console itself, but let's be honest, it's their flagship game right now. I mean, Assassin's Creed is a lot of fun. Astrobots was fun, for a little while. I think people kind of got their fill of it and moved on. But Miles Morales has really been the kind of the game, right? I mean, that's the game everybody's talking about, and everybody has at least started to play. So I'm glad they fixed that. Clipping through walls and, turning into inanimate objects, it's better. It's not perfect, but it is better. Issue 4, this was a big one, and I suffered from this quite a bit. The downloader was having major queuing issues, resulting in an error that would not allow you to patch any games. So this kind of ties into another issue that I'm going to mention here, which was that the PlayStation, when you put a PlayStation 4 disc into the console, it automatically starts to install it. Now, this is a problem because a lot of us, myself included, still have a lot of PlayStation 4 games that we are playing on our console that have been up-resed. And what Sony's decided to do in their just nonsensical infinite wisdom is treat the PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5 version of a game as two separate executables and two separate installers. So when I got Assassin's Creed and I went ahead and I plugged in my disc, it came with the collector's edition. I put Valhalla into my PlayStation 4. It automatically, or PlayStation 5 rather, it started downloading the PlayStation 4 version, which was really dumb. Then after it downloads the PlayStation 4 version, I have to delete it because I want to play it on PlayStation 5. Every time I put the disc in, it reinstalls the PlayStation 4 version. That has unfortunately not yet been resolved. However, when you do go into the downloader and you see a list of issues where it says, hey, do you want to download this game? And you cancel one of those, I can confirm that, yes, the downloader does continue to work correctly. I had an issue where Call of Duty actually had an update. I wasn't able to update the game because my downloader was stuck, even though it said nothing was currently downloading. My downloader was stuck on an Assassin's Creed install, which I had canceled. I tried to play Call of Duty. It wasn't the right version number. It wouldn't let me play. Incredibly frustrating. Now, the downloader piece has been resolved, thankfully. If you cancel something, you will not have to go into safe mode. You will not have to basically rebuild your PlayStation database to clear that issue out. The problem of putting a PlayStation disc into the console, PlayStation 4 disc in, unfortunately, it will still install the PlayStation 4 version, which is incredibly stupid. So that is still unresolved, but at least the downloader piece is working. So if it does start to install something and you don't like it, you can immediately stop it and rest assured that you're not going to have any issues going on. Another big issue, external USB drives. Now, this was something that was incredibly frustrating because Sony decided that they wanted to give us a really small hard drive. And they gave us, after the system operating system and the quick save or the quick load functionality, my hard drive was about 500 gigabytes of usable space. Not a lot at all. Very, very frustrating. So it made sense for my old PlayStation 4 games, of which I have a zillion of them, to install them and use them on an external drive. Understood I would give up the solid state drive, the super fast performance, didn't care. I just wanted to be able to play all my games on my PlayStation 5, put away the Pro forever, and just stick with the new console. And unfortunately, that was causing major, major issues because, for whatever reason, when an external drive was plugged in, the PlayStation would seem to lose connectivity with it, and it would go in this infinite loop. It would crash. Then it would try to basically scan and rebuild the database of the actual PlayStation 5 internal operating system. Then it would try to install and repair the external PlayStation 4 hard drive. And if it got through all of those three things successfully, it would crash and just start over again in an infinite loop. The only resolution was to unplug the external USB drive and rebuild your PlayStation 5 database, sometimes 2 or 3 times in a row, in order to get it to work. I can say that I have been using my external drive now for about a week and a half since the latest patch, and I have had 0 issues. And I had a lot of issues because I really kept trying to make it work. So I have to say I believe this to actually be resolved. Now, PlayStation hasn't officially come out and said, hey, this patch fixes that. They are notorious for trying to do damage control by releasing patches that just say stability has been increased. However, we all know this was one of the major issues, and it seems like this has largely been fixed, which is really, really good. So if you have an external USB drive and you're plugging it into the USB ports, USB-A ports in the back, the USB-A port in the front, or the USB-C port in the front, I think you're going to be okay and you're not going to have any issues. I don't anymore. And what you're seeing right now, this Division 2 gameplay via my PlayStation 4 external drive ran perfectly, and I've been playing this for the greater part of about 2 weeks now without any issue. So I think it's safe to say that issue has been resolved. Rest mode. Rest mode is still one that I think I'm going to say is unresolved. Even though I have not personally noticed any issues, I have also decided in the last couple of days to turn rest mode off. So that was the easiest way to fix it. Rest mode did exactly what I had mentioned with the external USB drive. You would not be able to bring the console successfully out of rest mode. You pair that with the fact that the USB-A port on the front was not getting enough power, and it just created a horrible, horrible solution where you couldn't charge your controllers. You thought you would be downloading stuff in the background, but you weren't because the system just crashed and it was unsuccessful to do anything. I have not noticed this issue. However, it was very, very widespread. Many people still have their external drives, still have their rest mode disabled. So in other words, either the console's on or off. If you leave the console power on and walk away, it doesn't go into rest mode. Now, I personally like rest mode. It definitely wasn't as taxing on the system. It brings the processor speed down. It brings puts it in like a low power mode. The fan doesn't spin as fast. And I think it creates some nice longevity. The nice thing about it is if there are any new updates to any of your games, they will be pushed and downloaded automatically. So it's not like you have to turn your console on to get an install going. It was just up and running, which I love. I don't think I can't remember a time other than when the power went out that I ever turned off my PlayStation 4 Pro because it was always in rest mode, and I loved it. It was a great feature, and I really appreciated it. But unfortunately, for whatever reason, it seemed like PlayStation 5 had an issue with it, and it seems to me that it's fixed, but I'm still going to go ahead and call that one unresolved because I still know that, I think a lot of people may still be having issues with that one. And the last one, and the one that I'm probably the most excited about, is the push for 60 frames a second, or at least the option to play at 60 frames a second. Now, this is Division 2 gameplay, which Ubisoft has finally come forward and said, yes, we will be bringing you 60 frames a second. That's not happening, unfortunately, until February of 2021. But pretty much every other Ubisoft game, with the exception of Watch Dogs Legion, is going to either have a 60 frame, or if you're in a Rainbow Six fan, 120 frame per second experience. Demon Souls is offering a 30 and 60 frame game mode. The aforementioned Spider-Man Miles Morales is doing the same thing. So it looks like a lot of these games are going 60 frames a second. Even games like Assassin's Creed Valhalla, only 60 frames a second, which I'm fine with. So I'm really happy to say that I feel like they've finally embraced the 60 frame a second, a promise that a lot of us thought we were going to get during the launch of the PlayStation 4. Unfortunately, we did not, and now here we are, and we're getting a lot of games that are getting a nice, healthy, backward compatibility up-res, and I couldn't be happier about that. I know Microsoft, I think, is leading the charge in this significantly. They have a monster library of backward compatible games. We don't really get that luck, unfortunately, on the Sony side of things, but I have to say that I'm pretty happy with at least kind of where we're at in terms of, I have to say, I'm really happy where we're at in terms of frame rate right now. So I think we're doing good. So there you have it. Just a list of gripes. I always talk on this channel about early adopters, and our early adopters always seem to get screwed. If you bought a PlayStation 5 today, if you've been fortunate enough to get one over the last couple of weeks, or last couple of days, I should honestly say, is there's more drops, particularly around the holidays. You're not going to experience a lot of the issues that a lot of us early adopters did, and that's awesome. It's frustrating, but it's understandable. It's just the way it is with this industry and with technology in general. You're the first person out the gate. If you're playing Cyberpunk 2077 right now, the game is a buggy, broken mess. By the time a lot of other people get into it, it's going to be fine. But, I wanted to put this list together for just kind of a sanity check, kind of where are we at on the world of PlayStation. And I've got to honestly say Sony is impressing me. I still think there's some things they can work on. I still think their user interface is not that great. I'm not a huge fan of some of the, goofy issues with rest mode and that other stuff, but I think ultimately they did a good job. So I'm happy that they're addressing the issues that the fans have, and I'm happy to say that if you own a PlayStation 5 and you've been patching it like everyone else has, you're probably in a much better place now than you were before. So with that, I'm going to close out this video. Leave some comments below. Let me know your thoughts on PlayStation 5. Have you had any significant issues? Have you had any major issues that I didn't cover here? Are you largely happy with the support Sony's been giving you? Or is there other things you think we need to work on? So leave some comments below. Let's get some dialogue going. I'm curious to hear what everybody else thinks about it. With that, I'm going to close out this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Take care of yourselves. And until next time, I will see you guys on the other side.